we are not tracking the numbers and we're not taking account of what's coming in and what's going out, it'll feel like you're making money, but really you're not. Really it may be costing you more to be in business than it's actually worth it. And a budget is going to help us, and it's going to help us minimize that frivolous, that impulse spending, because we're planning. And I know budget can sound like a dirty word, but I'm telling you, every time I am diligent with a budget, I end up having more money.
Hey friends, I'm Rosemary Lewis, your homegirl, and I'm so excited that you are here. I do not care what it looks like on Instagram or HGTV. This whole being a realtor thing is not for the faint at heart. In 2017, I quit my job as a teacher to follow my real estate dreams and quickly found myself overwhelmed and struggling. Fast forward to today. Not only have I been recognized as one of the leaders in our industry, I have actually grown a business that I absolutely love. I don't care if you're a brand new agent trying to figure out how to get started, or a veteran feeling overwhelmed and just stuck. I was just like you, and I totally get it. Many times I wish there was someone that I could just talk to about all the challenges I was facing. And that is why I created this space just for you. Like best friends do, I'm giving you all the tea related to navigating and thriving in these real estate streets. If I can do it, guess what? That's proof that you can too. Everything's better with friends, so let's succeed together. Welcome to the Real Estate Bestie podcast.
Well, hello there, besties. Welcome to episode 108, where we are going to talk about managing your money in 2024. Listen, okay, I want to have this conversation with you. First of all, let me just start off by saying that this is not, your financial advice. This is straight up, I'm sharing my experiences with you and things that I would have done differently. But definitely you want to contact, and that's actually one of my tips, is going to be talking to financial professionals. But y'all, there are so many things as it relates to money that I wish I would have done differently before I really got into making money. And, we're friends, so I don't want you to make some of the mistakes that I have made as it relates to money habits as you start building these fabulous real estate businesses, or, managing the business that you have. So we're going to talk about just some feedback, some things that I want to share with you about how to manage your money in 2024 and beyond. And again, some things that I wish I would have done differently or thought about differently. And I'm hoping that it helps somebody. Look, like let the church say amen. Let's help somebody. So before I start off talking about all these tips and things, lessons that I have learned the not so easy way, the first thing that I want to talk to you about is your mindset around money. I did not realize until after I got into real estate and after, I got into this space where I wanted to be so successful for a variety of reasons. And at the end of the day, we want to help people, we want to support families, but we also have to make a living and support our family. And what I realized rather quickly, I'm listening to these self-help books. I'm trying to figure out, just how to inspire myself, how to, get my mindset right. And what I uncovered was that my mindset around money was so jacked up. And why was it jacked up? Because I grew up in an era where my parents, they did not have a lot growing up. As a matter of fact, my mother would say she wasn't poor, she was po. She grew up in Mississippi, and my parents were, my mom was born in 1940. So they grew up in a very segregated South. They grew up, honestly, my mom was picking cotton. That was her job. She was not encouraged to go to school. They still worked on a plantation. Now they were getting a wage, but it was a very minimal wage. So, so even though she was able to, go through life and own a business and do a lot of different things, I do think that the mindset that I was born into was really a mindset of lack. meaning like we're always trying to make ends meet. And even after ends were meeting, the mindset was still just almost out of, I don't want to use the word desperation, but it definitely wasn't abundance thinking, wealth driven, right? We were not having a lot of wealth conversations. We were having how to get by and live a decent life conversation. So anywho, I just bring that up, giving you some of my background, because I know a lot of besties probably grew up like I did, where, it almost felt dirty, right? To desire wealth, to want to be rich, to want to have things. And it was something that I definitely struggled with when I first got into the business. So I had to do some work to unpack my mindset around money. When you think about the things that we heard, money is the root of all evil. And, if you see somebody who has a lot of something, the assumption is that they like cheated and stepped on somebody else in order to get it. And I was really living that every single day. And even though I didn't have the words to say that's the way I was thinking, it definitely showed up. And if these were my core values, my core beliefs, then it's very difficult to go out here and acquire, to be successful and acquire wealth, acquire, high commissions and feel good about it without feeling like I was doing something wrong. So that's going to be my very first thing, is like really sit through and evaluate your relationship with money. How do you spend it? How do you save it? How do you feel about it? Do you feel like money is going to come in? Like, does it make you anxious, like feeling like, okay, I'm going to be living paycheck to paycheck, or I don't know where my next big hit is going to come from. And all of these different feelings that we have around money, you need to definitely unpack that, because it's going to, I don't care how much money you earn, it's going to impact how we handle it. Okay. So a couple things that helped me, I read a book. The first book was You Are a Badass at Making Money. First, I started off with You Are a Badass. Like, that's one of my favorite books. And she had a chapter about money. And as she was talking, I was like, oh my goodness, she is like breaking me down to the T. And then I read the follow-up book, and I listened to it on Audible, You Are a Badass at Making Money. So it's by Jen Sincero. We will link it here in this episode, because I definitely think it's something that you need to listen to, especially if you feel like you have some money issues. And then the next book was The Science of Getting Rich, which was a book that they recommended. Both of them just really helped me. I did the activities in the book. I was all in. I actually still listen to You Are Badass at Making Money quite frequently, because look, I be having to get my mind right. So, okay. So after you work on your mindset, or as you are working on your mindset, I should say, here are some things that I wish I would have done differently. Y'all, I wish that I would have had a conversation with a CPA, a certified personal accountant. I think that's what CPA means. That's, at least I just made that up. But CPA, I wish I would have had that conversation with them as soon as I got into the business. Okay. Now, and I get it. Sometimes you think, oh, I want to wait until I do this, or wait until I do that. But when you're waiting, right, and then you're starting to earn commission and you're starting to earn money, we may not be managing our finances in the way that makes most sense. And at the end of the day, as a real estate agent, you are now a business owner. Even if you are working under a brokerage, some states you can incorporate a business, you can't incorporate a business, whatever. If you're a sole proprietor, you are an individual, you're going to get a 1099 at the end of the year. And the way that you handle those finances looks different from those of us who were used to being a regular W-2 employee. So having a conversation with a CPA ahead of time will at least start to get your mind right. The CPA will be able to let you know, like, what are the laws in your particular state, how you need to accept your commissions. There's different things like that. They're going to be able to give you insights that you will be able to learn early on what to do, so that you don't have to unlearn some not so great habits, right? So that is one of the things, like, I really wish from the very beginning. I did get a CPA earlier in the game. Like, when I got my first 1099, I was like, oh Lord, what'd I do? But I really wish that I would have had somebody prior to that to have a conversation. So definitely talking to a CPA. And then also understand that depending on if you are getting your tax, like whoever's doing your taxes, or I don't know if you're doing it yourself, it's just a different ballgame when you're self-employed. So just make sure that the person that you are hiring, or if you're trying to figure out how to do it yourself, but I recommend getting a professional, that they are well versed in working with real estate agents and understanding like our deductions and things like that. So make sure that you have a conversation with the CPA first. Wish I would have did that. Okay. This I did, but I want to just point out to you from the beginning, separate your accounts. Okay. What do I mean by that? Do not take or my suggestion, right? What I did is not taking my real estate commissions into the same account where I am dealing with my personal finances, right? So like my home bills, my things like that. So definitely, what they say is like not commingle the funds. I don't even want to commingle my own funds from business to personal. And that starts with opening a separating operating account or whatever your CPA recommends in order for you to receive your commissions and then operate your business. And again, I'm going to refer you back to the CPA to decide like how you should get paid and how you should, take deductions and things like that. But definitely having a system is going to be so much easier at tax time when you have an account that is literally like you're not separating this Kroger receipt from, was this from my house or was this from when I did the open house and provide the snacks? So separating accounts are going to be huge. And again, refer to your CPA, but I'm pretty sure this is something that they're going to recommend, having separate accounts. Okay. Now here's the next one, y'all. Set a budget. And then I'm going to interject. Set a budget and then revisit the budget monthly. Okay. Setting a budget for both your personal account and for the way that you are going to run your business is going to be a game changer. And I know you probably like, well, girl, I ain't making no money. I ain't got to set a budget because I know that when this come out, I have to pay it. No, I get that. But listen, as like you're here in the Real Estate Bestie community because you are all about growing your business. And as you grow your business, you are going to grow your income. Setting a budget on how much you are going to spend, what you are going to allocate for what pot is going to be a game changer. And it's going to like having that discipline from the beginning where you are allocating, telling your money where to go, exactly like we tell our time where to go in time blocking. We're telling our money where to go. Then you're not going to look up at the end of the year and be like, okay, my W-2 or my 1099, I should say, says that I made this money, but where did it go? Y'all, it's real easy to spend money. It's so easy to spend money. It's so easy to go to a closing and to you can't believe. Like I remember the first time I got a closing with a 5-figure, like I made like $12,000. What? Like I didn't think twice about spending something on me, right? And I'm not saying that you can't spend something on you. I am a firm believer in gifting myself every closing. I just don't have to gift myself Louis Vuitton, or unless I budgeted for that. So whatever that looks like, I'm not going to tell you what has to be in your budget, but set a budget for marketing expenses, right? We should be able to know down to the dollar, like how much does it cost you to list a house? What is your budget for photography? What is your budget if you're running Facebook ads? What is your budget for open houses? And just seeing what makes sense, because unfortunately what happens with a lot of businesses, when we are not tracking the numbers and we're not taking account of what's coming in and what's going out, it'll feel like you're making money, but really you're not. Really it may be costing you more to be in business than it's actually worth it. And a budget is going to help us, and it's going to help us minimize that frivolous, that impulse spending, because we're planning. And I know budget can sound like a dirty word, but I'm telling you, every time I am diligent with a budget, I end up having more money, right? Because when I really look through and I look and see, okay, this is how much I want to spend on entertainment. This is how much I want to spend on travel. This is how much I'm talking about personal stuff here, but like, then you go through and you look to see what's coming out. And it's like, wait, why am I paying like this, this app subscription or something like that? I don't need it. And now you go and you you trim the fat where you may be being, it may be excessive spending. You can start trimming that fat, and those 20, 10s, $15, $9 subscriptions, they add up. So again, get yourself a budget, and I'm telling you to review it monthly because again, as your business is building, I have very well gone from, I've had months where I made just a couple $1,000s, and I've had months where I've made six figures in 1 month, right? So if I'm not budgeting myself and making sure that I have a good grasp on what's coming in and what's going out, or I'm still operating off the previous budget, then it can be detrimental. So making sure that we are setting a budget. And then I want to say this too. As your business is growing, like don't wait until the next tax season to have a conversation with your CPA. Be in consistent conversation with them. A healthy relationship to have is to be having like quarterly reviews where you're paying your quarterly taxes and things like that. They're abreast on how your business is trending for the current year so that you don't end up at the end of the year expecting one thing and expecting something else. So having that monthly review of budget and the finances and even including your CPA in that conversation is going to be huge. And that's something that I really wish I would have did. Okay, then here's the next one. Set a savings goal and stick to it. Y'all, okay. I cannot stress this enough, especially when we experience, market, like they say save for a rainy day. And I am a full believer that like I want to live and enjoy the life I'm currently living because who knows? I don't know that I'm going to be 75 years old and able to, to sail on a yacht. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if my health is going to be good, right? I'm not waiting until retirement to live. However, right? Life be life and the market be marketing. And things may not always be as fluid as you have become used to them being. So I don't care where you are getting money from. I don't care how much you're getting. Save on everything that you receive. I personally save 10%, in addition to anything else that me and my husband try to look to do for investments. I like to save that first 10%, tithe 10%, save 10%. I didn't even say that. Look, we could talk a whole thing. Look, like when a man robs God, he robs himself. Like that was one of my things. I wanted to learn how to be a cheerful giver. And my mindset work helped me with that. So I definitely believe in tithing and saving. Like those are the first two things that I generally do anytime I receive any income, because number one, tithing, like I need God to know, hey, this is what you blessed me with. I want to bless the kingdom. But then also, like it's biblical, you reap what you sow. But then number two, saving is so important. And I know for a lot of us, we really didn't know how to save. We've never learned how to save. We've grown up just, being okay in the way the economy is, being okay with living check to check. And I just rebuke that in the name of Jesus. For all of us real estate besties, we are going to learn how to save. But let me tell y'all this funny story. No lie. I was working when I was a freshman in college. I was working at this store called Carson Peary Scott. If you are from the Midwest, like from Chicago area or wherever they had a Carson's, you know what I'm talking about. Carson's was kind of sort of like Macy's, but not really. It wasn't as nice as Macy's, but anyway, it was like a department store. So I was working at Carson's and I got paid every week. I love this job. I got paid every week. And y'all, it was like my goal. I don't know why I like, who taught me this? My parents didn't teach me. As a matter of fact, my father was a saver. He still saved. But like, I would be disappointed in myself if like it was the next payday and I had money in a bank. I never forget one time I pulled up to the bank because the bank that I went to, you had to like, this was before ATM and debit cards, like 1999. I'm dating myself. So I went to the bank to pull some money out. It was like 2 days before payday or a day before payday. And like, let's just say I was getting $100 out. And when I gave the teller my, like my information, and then she sent me back, like they would write the balance of your bank account on the sheet of paper. And she said my balance was $199. And I was like, what? How do I have $199? Y'all, I resent the deposit slip for $150 more because I just wanted $50 in the bank. I don't know why was I like that? I don't know. Lord, if you are a natural saver, if you've been saving, look, teach us your ways, besties. This is a learned behavior for me. And I'm telling you, it is behavior that has saved my tail, especially in a slower market. So if it's one thing that I can encourage you is to set a savings goal. Like I told you, I do 10%. There have been seasons where I've done 20%. Whatever it is, just stick to it. And listen, I saw Jackie Hill Perry say, now don't be going to your savings account for a bag of crab legs, right? But truly, just determine what is an emergency and what you will use those funds for. But from the very beginning, get into the habit of saving your money. Okay. Get into the habit of saving your money. And I'm telling you, pay yourself first, put it away. Oh, and also for a savings account, it's best if you put your savings in an account that is not accessible. So if you have your operating expenses like at Chase or a big bank, put your savings account at a credit union where you don't have a debit card, where you got to go through a few hoops in order to get it out. Trust me, you are going to thank me later. Okay. And then here's the last thing I'm going to tell you about managing your money in 2024. Something I wish I would have done differently is give yourself grace. We're learning, we're learning. I'd never gotten the type of income that I have. And I feel very proud because there are definitely a lot of things that I've done with my income that I'm like, okay, yes, that was a great decision. But there are some things that I'm kind of like, yeah, that was a little excessive. Y'all, the year that my mom died, let me just tell you that I went through a season of like, I just want to feel good now. And I was doing things that made me feel good in the moment. And that came in the name of designer handbags. And it's just ridiculous. Like now, sometimes I go in my closet and I'm annoyed because I'm thinking like, I could have done things differently. But you know what? I was grieving and I know better. And when you know better, you do better, right? But I'm not going to beat myself up every single day for the way that I, acted in that season, because I didn't, thank the Lord, I was still saving. I was still doing everything else, but I was disposing my disposable income a little bit too much. And now I know better, right? Now I know better to do better, but beating myself up about it every single day it's not going to help me. But moving forward, right? Because we have to learn from our lessons. We have to learn from the things that we wish we would have done differently. I just have a different idea, right? So now this is why I'm sticking more tightly to a budget, no matter what my financial season is. And, I have some perimeters around impulse buying and things like that, because at the end of the day, no matter how many bags I bought, my mom's still not here. So it really did not serve the purpose that I wanted it to serve at that time. It was just temporary satisfaction, but in the long run, I still have to deal with my stuff. And that's something, the last thing I'm going to say is that I know that when you have been strapped for a while, I was strapped for a long time. And when you come into commissions and when you are in a situation where you are now able to maybe start building some wealth and getting out of the rat race and doing things like that, sometimes we want all the flashy stuff, and I like flashy too, but I just want you to have some balance to it and, definitely treat yourself well, but also don't think about what you want currently in the moment, but what is going to serve you long term. And just getting smart about how you are handling your finances. Trust me, it will help you with a lot of undue anxiety and stress that you may experience, especially, when we are living a life when the market just doesn't look the way it was. I remember a couple weeks ago, we had Sheena on here, and I asked her about, we just talked about, is the sky falling? Like, how do we manage in a market that looks a lot different? And the reality is that, there is definitely, or has been concern. I know interest rates are coming down. A lot of agents are doing a sigh of relief. But if we are not, looking at and taking care of our money habits, if something else happens in market, or if God forbid you can't get out and work, is that panic is going to set back in, right? But when we have those folks who have set some money away, or they have invested in actual dirt and have rental property, like my husband got rental properties and things coming in, and not just bags sitting on the shelf, they can ride the wave of a shifting market a little differently than someone who just didn't have the tools to manage the money a little bit more appropriately when you had it. So I just want to, give you a little hug. Like if you're feeling a little tender, like I should have handled my money a little differently. I mean, we live and we learn, but definitely think through the tips that we shared today so that it can help you moving forward. So it's having a conversation with a CPA, go ahead and separate those accounts, setting a budget for business and personal, get that savings goal and stick to it. And then finally, give yourself a little bit of grace. Okay. And speaking of grace, listen, I would so appreciate it if you would just grace the Real Estate Bestie podcast right now with a review. Y'all, grace us with a review. It will take you like literally a couple seconds. Give us a 5-star review. If any part of this episode has resonated with you, please tell us about it in the comments, because it actually matters. Like that's how the podcast people get our podcast out. And then here is the last thing. If you are thinking like, this is some information that my real life real estate bestie could use, or just somebody in general could have could learn from this, feel free to share the podcast with them. And then here's my last plug, friends. Y'all know we having a whole retreat in Dallas, and we're going to talk about like get deep, talk money talk. We're going to talk business, but we're also going to talk like what are just some of the pillars and things that we need to have in life. And my husband is actually going to teach a session on using your commissions to invest in real estate. Like that's next level baller right there, right? When you're using your commissions to now have you investing in something that's going to pay you and create legacy for years and years to come. So if you are interested and we want you at the retreat in April in just a couple months, rosemarylewis.com/retreat will get your retreat ticket so that you can get in on all this goodness. As always, it has been my pleasure to chat with you and can't wait to talk to you real soon. Bye, besties.
If you enjoyed this episode and you have a real life bestie that you think it would resonate with, y'all, do me a favor. Go ahead and hit that share button, because you know what? We are better together. Make sure you share the podcast, and I appreciate your reviews. I appreciate you giving me 5 stars more than you know. I'll talk to you next week.